friends, it's Sarah here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another Sims 4 speed build. So today we're back in Sulani, as you can see, and we are building a tiny houseboat. Houseboat sounds extremely weird to me. Boathouse sounds a lot more natural, but I know that that's a different thing. So I'm going to keep calling it a houseboat even though it sounds really, really weird. So basically, I just tried to recreate this picture of a boat that I had seen on Pinterest and then make it into a residential house for a sim. And so it's extremely tiny, as you can tell. In the end, we add like this pier type thing because I wanted it to look like something was that boat was kind of anchored to something. And the pier really drives up the tile count. So this is considered a small home by like one tile. It's like 99 out of 100 tiles. So it is it's a tier 3 tiny home. I think it's tier 3. Anyway, it is considered a small home. And I don't know if I left it that way on the gallery or if I just made it residential, but it's basically just the pier that drove that up. The actual living area of this house is pretty small. And when I went to make it, I was making it for one adult sim and then one toddler sim. And when I went to playtest this build, I couldn't get my toddler to go out into the boat. And so I just assumed that toddlers can't swim in the ocean. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong because I really have no idea. I haven't actually played with island living that much, but it makes a lot of sense. And so I just assumed that they couldn't swim. And I swapped the toddler bed out for a child's bed. And there was a lot of changes I had to make on this build for it to be functional, and I'll talk about some of the outside changes a little bit later when we get there. But as far as the actual house goes, yeah, it has been play tested and everything is functional except for, like, in my opinion, everything important is functional. But there is one of the stuffed animal toys that is not. I think I left that in. I'm actually not that sure right now, but I'm pretty sure it's in there. And it's not functional because it's lifted up off the ground, and also because I think the Sims consider the bed as like an obstacle. And then there's 2 couches we're going to add on the opposite side of this area, like the opposite side of the boat. And they are just there for decoration. I wanted them to kind of look like a boat bench seat, and they don't really look that much like that, but I still thought it needed something, and so I left it in. And because they are kind of pushed into those roofs, neither of those are functional either. But to me, that's just decoration anyway, because your Sims have seating in this build. They have their beds. There's one chair inside. We have a couple chairs on the other side. Both of those are functional. And so I decided to just go on and leave it. I couldn't make those couches functional no matter what I did, but those aren't functional. And then the toy. And then also another thing that I realized was that your sim can't take the garbage out through the water, which makes so much sense. And I don't know why I didn't think about it. But there is like a tiny little garbage can in the bathroom of this build. But if you actually wanted to play with it, you probably would want to get that trash can that the one that's blue that kind of gives you money and then you don't ever have to take it out. That's the only trash can I play with anyway when I play in The Sims. But you probably will want to get something like that where your sim doesn't actually have to take the garbage out because they can't. So there is a lot more in this build that's not functional than I normally would be okay with, but I just kind of wanted to do it, and there was a couple things I just didn't feel like trying to figure out. I had a lot of trouble playtesting this build. It was very frustrating. I actually had to quit for a little while and come back to it. And so I decided just to leave a couple of the things in and not worry about it. But this is the only bathroom. Of course, this is so small, but you may notice that we don't have a sink, and we'll take that toddler potty chair out also because I changed it from a toddler to a child. But we don't have a sink in the bathroom, and when I originally made it, I actually forgot to include a sink in the kitchen area, and there wasn't really any room to add it later, and I felt like a sink was very important, so I swapped the oven out for a sink, and then I put one of the outdoor cooking items that came with Island Living. I'm not even sure what they're called, but I put that like on the stand. So this would be a very like chill house, I guess. Like you cook out in the yard, like cook outside and just kind of chill and stuff like that because there's no oven in the inside. but I left the counter in just for decoration, and I don't know. I'm trying to get better at building tiny houses because I find them very difficult. But yeah, I think everything else inside is functional. I can't think of anything else that's not functional. When I swapped out the toddler stuff for child stuff, I did check it again. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that everything's functional except for the garbage, the couches, and then that toy right there that I just placed. And yeah, everything else is functional. And you could always get rid of, like, if you didn't have a kid, you could always get rid of that bed and like make the kitchen bigger or whatever you wanted to do. But you know, I also thought this was going to be a starter home. I wasn't trying to make it a starter home, I was just building it, but I thought it was going to be a starter home because it's, let me think, it was 37,000 simoleons, I believe. And so I thought it was going to be a starter house for 2 Sims, like a Sim and then their child. But apparently you only get 2,000 simoleons for a child. Which is kind of crazy because that basically just buys their bed, but maybe a little bit more than their bed. But you don't get 20,000 simoleons, so this isn't a starter home. And yeah, now we're just building this little pier area. And like I said, this was just for decoration. I wanted it to look like, you know, the boat had something that it was kind of hanging on to. And so we're going to add in some debug fencing for that purpose. And then you can kind of see, we're going to do some more later, but you can kind of see I've already started placing some rocks kind of behind the boat because I felt like it looked really empty. And because it was in the water, I knew I couldn't add just a whole lot of trees and stuff, and which I end up adding in a few. But now we're adding in all these rocks. And so I had play tested this build after I got done with the interior, and everything was working fine. So then I decorate the exterior. And when I went to play test it, nothing was working. My Sim wouldn't even walk through there. I had to teleport and then they couldn't move. And so that was really frustrating. And I started, as usual, I started just trying to delete the things that I thought were probably causing the problem. And every time I deleted something, it still wasn't working. It wasn't right. So I ended up deleting all of those rocks because I think all of them, I may have left one in, but I figured that a lot of the debug items, some of them your Sims can walk through and they're not bothered. Some of them they can't. So I figured that this was probably one of the cases where that was, because they were sized down, that was probably interfering with the house in some way. So I ended up deleting most of those, and then nothing would work still, so I had to restart the game, and then everything was working back to normal. So I just left off a bunch of stuff. Mostly everything stays the same, but there are some changes. If you want to watch the tour, I'll try to remember to put a marker in the description box for the tour. But yeah, basically this is just my normal Sulani landscaping, and we are pretty much getting close to the end of this build. It's pretty simple. Like I said, the gallery picture is really, really ugly. Even like from this angle, it just looks weird to me, but I still enjoyed building it, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And just let me know what you think in the comments if you want to. And yeah, I think that's all that I have to say for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed. And just thanks so much for watching. And I hope you guys are having a great day.